What's up everybody, 40 the Broadway Saint here. Welcome back again to my YouTube channel. And in this video for EverCrisis, we are doing an updated tier list from the one that I did for pre-launch now that the game has been officially out for almost a week now. And joining me today is none other than my good friend Mac, who helped me with the last tier list. Do you want to introduce yourself again and say some cool stuff there?
Well, hello there. Been playing the game alongside 40 for a week now, something like that.
Yep.
And yeah, really enjoying it. Don't know what I can say more. Just like the same usual.
Yeah, for sure. There have definitely been some changes to the characters and the weapons, so this is why we're making this updated tier list for you guys. Now, keep in mind, tier lists are very subjective. We all know that because of the way the game is, pretty much any character can fulfill a role that you want them to. Some do it better than others, so please take this tier list with a grain of salt. Just use it as like a reference because tier lists are not the end all be all. But for those of you that were asking about an updated tier list, this is why we are doing this video. So I guess we'll go in order of each of the characters that are unlocked and we'll just take turns kind of explaining our thoughts to it, because I'm pretty sure from talking to each other, we pretty much agree mostly where these characters are going to be fitting in now. Yeah?
Yeah.
For sure. All right, so I'll start off first with Cloud. I think Cloud is still definitely S tier. Everybody is running him. You run him with Murasame and or is it Murasame or Muramasa? I'm already forgetting the name.
Murasame, yeah.
Yeah, Murasame. You have the costume on him, which mostly everybody has that. And then you either run him with either Apocalypse. I'm seeing the Apocalypse build a lot because it really amps up his physical damage. Or if you don't have a physical defense breaker, you run him with Hard Edge. Or if you don't have a healer, I've seen some people run him with Crystal Sword. But Cloud is S tier. Yeah, I think we can all agree.
Yeah, and all the options you listed are pretty good for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing. You can't go wrong with Cloud. I mean, he's the main character of the game. So I'm gonna let you take Barrett because Barrett's changed. Go ahead and take Barrett.
Yes, they did quite a bit of change for him. Basically, what happened was that he was on the featured banner at the release, unlike the beta days where we are met. They gave him a new weapon, which is Heavy Hauser, and is a really good physical weapon, which he was probably lacking at the time. And they also gave him the skin that complements that, which basically is the same skin as the one Matt had on the beta, adding 10 points in power and physical power. I can't recall the exact value, but yeah, I think Barrett is better now. They also did nerf his debuff weapons in the name of the V-Machine, sorry, which now costs 4 instead of 2, so was a bit nerf for him, but overall I'd say he is pretty good.
Yeah, did we agree to put him in S tier because of that change?
Yeah, I think he's somehow very similar to Matt in the physical DPS aspect. I'd say he's barely making it to S tier just because he doesn't have the heal capacity that Matt has.
Right. He doesn't have like, a strong AoE heal access. W Machine, like you mentioned, did get nerfed. Although I was told that the debuff is actually stronger now compared to what it was. So I guess that makes sense that they made it 4. I still wish it would have been 2, but.
Yep. The debuff is now on a high potency, unlike the previous one, which was, I can't recall, probably low or mid.
Yeah, I think it was low, if I remember correctly. But overall, he is now a pretty competitive damage dealer, especially with the costume and the weapon that he was given. So I'd say like he's barely making it to S tier. I'd say low on the low end of S tier. Is what we're saying. Yeah.
Basically.
Cool. So we're moving on to Tifa. She just got a brand new weapon, which gives her the healing option. Her heal is cheaper compared to the other characters who have an AoE heal. It is, however, of a lower potency, so you need to keep that in mind. But if you need like a faster heal, this one is definitely a weapon to consider if you missed out on some of the other healing ones. And they made a big change to 2 of her weapons, which was leather gloves and Sonic Strikers. So originally, Sonic Strikers debuffed, I believe, physical attack, and it had a lower damage modifier, and was it leather gloves was just a single target, pretty much 940% physical damage attack. But now they swapped these two weapons, and not only that, but Sonic Strikers now has the highest damage modifier in the game currently in terms of a command ability at 990%. So Tifa is now even more of a jack of all trades. I actually want to put her at S tier, honestly, because with the healing weapon and with the highest damaging modifier, I think she shot up to S tier for me. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I also put her like bottom S tier. I think she's a really good character now, especially as a physical attacker or even an hybrid character alongside Lifeguard Wraps, which is the new weapon you mentioned. One thing though I'd say about her new weapon is that you need to have it at overboost 10 to make it a really meaningful heal, I'd say, but it's still cheaper to cast, so you'll be able to spam it more. Overall, I think her new weapon is good, and the change they made to Sonic Striker makes her one of the best characters. And there's also the limit break, that debuff, which is really fast. So overall, I'd say she's S tier now.
Yeah, in S tier though, do you want to put her above Barrett or below? What do you think? I kind of want to put her above just because of the heal.
Just a bit above. The heal is a part of that, but also she has a debuff on a way faster limit break.
Right, yeah, sure.
Like, Barrett can also debuff, but it's way longer to charge.
Right, for sure. So next character is Aerith. What do you want to say about Aerith?
Aerith still probably one of the best character.
Yep.
I think that they also did a bit of change on her weapon, but I can't recall which one. She's probably right now still the best healer. Her LB is amazing.
Yep.
And she's now even getting more weapons from which she's going to benefit as a healer, like the new Tifa weapon, the new Red 13 weapon. No, Red 13 weapon I think is lightning potency, but Tifa gives her another option for our abilities. So overall I think she's still top of the S tier.
Yep, I agree too. I mean, you can't go wrong with having a really strong healer. No one right now can really compete with her in terms of that. So it's if you got Fairy Tail and you are using that, and you also have her you are having your use her limit break 1, which is another heal. She's really strong. And the thing about Fairy Tail is that you don't need to invest in it as much as, like, let's say Tifa's weapon. You're already getting a pretty solid heal. It doesn't need a lot of investment for you to benefit off of it. I think mine is only like at OB1 and it's doing fine for me.
And you only need basically OB1 for Fairy Tail, because it gives you, I think, from the baseline weapon at 5 to overboost 1, it gives you 10% extra potency on the healing.
Yeah, so
which is really good.
Yeah, so even though it costs 5, it's not as cheap as Tifa's. It's overall still I would say it's a more consistent heal, because it just has that higher modifier. And also, I would say it's a more of a free-to-play friendly option if you pull it, because you don't need to invest too much into it.
Yep, and there's also another weapon we didn't talk about last time, which I think deserves a mention, which is Mithril Rod. And it being a weapon that buffs your entire party, whether it's magical defense and physical defense, and also gives a bit of healing, which is not the real thing about the weapon, but being able to boost your entire party, physical and magical, is actually quite big.
Yeah, that is. I actually am not. I have that, but I haven't equipped it on her because I'm running her with I think Wiser Staff because of the Earth element. But I may consider that. That's actually a good call out there. That's a really good one if you want to run her purely as support. So.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. Red 13 got a brand new weapon. 2 of his weapons were kind of switched around. Platinum Collar, the one with the highest magical attack stat. It still has the highest magical attack stat, but it's now a healing weapon. And Gold Collar is now doing what Platinum Collar used to do, except it's a little bit weaker, but it now debuffs the magic defense of all enemies. So it was an interesting change. I do like how his Seaside Collar, which is brand new weapon, has that elemental resist down for thunder. So that's very good in conjunction with Cloud and Murasame, because everybody's running that. The thing though about that debuff, I learned that. So I thought that if an enemy wasn't weak to the thunder element, you could take advantage of this. I actually learned that if an enemy does not have a natural weakness to this element and you try to apply this debuff, it actually won't. So
Okay.
it just further amps it. All it does is it pretty much further weakens an enemy that's already naturally weak to that element. I still think it's useful. And I think it pushes him a little bit higher than where we used to have him. I think he's like mid A tier, if I were to say.
That's exactly where I'd put him. One other thing to note though is that even if you're not running Red 13, the Seaside Collar is one of the best, if not probably the best weapon for Cloud as a sub weapon.
Yes.
Just for the air abilities, because it gives more HP, lightning ability potency, which is really good for him. And I'd say like it's a contender with Matt's weapon in the name of Broadsword Axis.
Yes, it is. It's a very, very good sub weapon for Cloud for sure. So Red 13 definitely got a buff with his new weapon and the switcheroo they made. So we're gonna put him at mid A tier. Next character is Zack. What do you have to say about Zack?
I'd say Zack overall got a bit better thanks to the new free weapon we got during the event. Beach Parasol, if I recall the name, which is a non-elemental magic at 560% modifier. Keep in mind that it's a free weapon, so no matter what, it's going to be really good to play with that, because most of us people won't be able to overboost to 10 level
Right.
the weapon we get on the gacha.
Right. So
Yep, I was just gonna say he's also getting new weapon options thanks to the summon weapons, like if it's swords. So he's basically getting more options to play, whether it's physical or magical.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. You know, he's definitely a very free to play friendly character right now, because you get a free Zwahander, and then if you play through the event, you get access to a free OB10 weapon. While it's not as good as a gacha weapon, it's still an OB10 weapon, which is very, very good for him. I want to say, in terms of tier list, I think he's higher than Red 13, but he's definitely gotten better. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd put him like just a tad above Red 13.
Yeah, definitely, just a little bit higher, because now he has some good options and he has access to an OB10 weapon that's free to play friendly. So our next character is Glenn. The only thing that they changed from the research that I did is similar to Barrett's weapon. His piece of cake, which had that debuff, is now a higher potency, but at the same time, the ATB cost is 4 instead of 2.
Let me check on that. Maybe it's even 5 now. I don't want to say something wrong. I'm just going to check right now.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, Glenn, I don't know. Without too many changes, he's pretty much similar to what he was in the CPT, outside of that one weapon being changed. He actually has pretty good damage output on his own, so if you want to run him as your primary damage dealer, he can actually do that too. And he also has that physical defense break, which is very useful, so you could kind of run him similar to like Cloud, giving him like a strong offensive weapon and then a physical defense break weapon on the sub hand. Overall, a pretty good, well-rounded offensive character is what I would call him. But you said there was a change to his weapon. You were checking?
Yes. So it's 4 ATB for the debuff weapon.
Okay.
So no, we were right about that. I can recall the change they made. Overall, I'd say he's still a pretty good character to build. He has really nice weapon like Personal Style, Apology in Hell, which will give him really high modifier, mostly physical. He also has Crew Wicker, which is an elemental physical weapon. So Really good character to build all around. Also has some decent magical options. I'd say though, since he doesn't have any skin like Barrett, I'd put him a bit under.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a bit under. I would say he's the second best character in A tier because we have that spot reserved. Well, I think we have that spot reserved for somebody else who you're about to talk about, but he's definitely underneath Barrett. They have some similarities, but because his costume, his free costume that he gets, and even the costume you can get in the the voucher that we got, it's not as good as Barrett's gacha costume. So Barrett, who does similar things, is currently ahead of him right now because they had those glaring similarities, but I would say he's like at the top 2 for the A tier. So speaking of A tier, I'm gonna let you take Matt. Matt changed a little bit too.
Yep, so Matt didn't get the banner at the release like we hoped, but he's, I'd say, still a very good character all around. And he might in the future get his skin and the weapon we didn't get. So what changed? He didn't get what's the name of the weapon? I can't recall.
Killer Hornet.
Killer Hornet. So, yeah, he didn't get Killer Hornet. He still does have like weapons like Prime Number, which are really solid options for AoE healing.
Mm-hmm.
He has good weapon like Broadsword Axis, which also are going to be very solid option for sub-equipping for Cloud, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And is able to do basically anything. So magic, physical, healing, he can do it all.
Right, yeah. He's still solid. It's just that he's missing out on more offense because that weapon and that battle gear is missing. But once he gets that, it'll definitely push his rank a bit higher. But for now, because he's missing that, I want to put him at the top of A tier, just for now.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so last character, I'll take this one because I'm maining her, Lucia.
Yeah.
Oh boy, oh boy. I actually think she's a lackluster, honestly. I took a look at her weapons. Yeah, I do. I really do. I'm still maining her. I don't care because I know she's gonna get some love. But like, even I'm glad that her gear voucher costume improves her physical damage. But when I was taking a look at her weapons, I'm like, her support ability is for herself. She has a self-heal. I was also looking at a majority of like her weapons reinforcement abilities, and she has a lot of HP. I'm like, so was she supposed to be like a tank? But we have no provoke abilities currently because like my Lucia right now has like 5,500 health, and she's almost level 50, and I have other characters that are close to level 50 that don't even come anywhere close to that. So I'm like, was this character supposed to be a tank? Like, what was she supposed to do? One use that I have for her, and it requires a specific setup, is you need to have Serpent Eater and Pulse Gun, which are her elemental weapons, because her Pulse Gun, which those two weapons were actually swapped with elements and what they do. But her Pulse Gun's support materia 3 gives her that +2 if you're hitting the X sigil. So I had a build for her where if you run both of those weapons, you can essentially run Ruin Rablow with, you can run all 3 of the shapes for the sigils, because the materia slots that you're going to get for support all support physical, and then you can essentially run her as like a sigil breaker is what you can do. But if you take a look at her weapons, she doesn't have a weapon currently that has a 940% damage modifier. I didn't see anything.
Yes.
Her debuffs, so one of her weapons debuffs magical attack down, which was cool, but then when I started getting into harder content like summon fights, they're immune to it. So I was like, okay, well, this is not going to work. I mean, it's just extra damage. And then her silence debuff that I was hyping up, I barely landed it, even on like mid-tier boss fights. I was like, I'm not landing this. Like, what is up with that? And then the harder fights are immune to it anyway, so like, what was the point? So I love her. I think she's gonna get more love. Well, she better. But honestly, I think she's currently the worst character at the game, and I'm gonna put her at B tier. It hurts for me to do that, but what do you think? I want to know your thoughts.
I'd say I wouldn't put her at B tier. I think bottom A tier is fine, and one of the reason being that she has a great debuffing LB.
That is true. Yeah.
And like many other characters, she can debuff magic and physical attack.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same as Barrett, if I recall. Her limit break, is longer to to charge, but has a high potency.
It does.
On the debuff size, if I'm not wrong. I'm just gonna check real quick. See.
Yeah, it's
see
a
that.
physical attack down on her LB2, which I've been using that, but like the summon fights are actually also immune to that, unfortunately, because I was trying to do it on Ifrit. I was trying to do the hard mode Ifrit, and I was like, oh, he's about to do Rush. So I popped that, and it didn't do anything, and I was like, oh.
Okay, so to correct things, it's a mid potency debuff. You can amp it up to high. So yeah, it's just a bit longer, but hits on both debuff, which can be useful. I don't know yet in terms of art content. I think that Nanaki and Tifa's limit break are going to be a bit better because they charge faster.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's just like slightly under the rest, I'd say.
Yeah.
When it comes to physical, but has some decent magical option and the uniqueness of having physical elemental weapons.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably bottom 8 here.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We'll put her at bottom 8 tier because it makes me feel better about her. Because I honestly still think she's B. But you know what? We'll put her there. Makes me feel better. I know I have some people from my community that are trying to make Lucia work. But yeah, for now, it makes me a little sad. But she's at the bottom of the pack. But I'm still gonna main her. If you guys come across a Lucia in co-op, it's probably me. Because that's the only character that I'm using in co-op. But yeah, this is the updated tier list, guys, in terms of the global launch for Final Fantasy VII EverCrisis, also taking into account the brand new banner that we just got. Any last words that you want to say to our audience, Mac?
Nothing much. I'd say don't feel bad about having characters that aren't in the top right now, because then again, it's bound to change every now and then. We've seen banner coming in pretty quickly, so it's very likely that we're gonna get a lot of decent options for most of the characters that aren't top tier for now.
For sure. Yeah, everything can change, and like we said earlier, the beauty about this game is there is a balance to it, because essentially any character could do whatever role that you want them to do to a certain degree. Others are better than, there's certain ones that are better than the others, but you can pretty much play with whoever you want. You won't necessarily struggle too hard as long as you're being smart with your resources and utilizing your stamina properly, and making whale friends for some of the free-to-play players, because they can help carry you through co-op and help you progress quickly. So just be smart with your resources. Don't worry about if your favorite character didn't make it to the top of S tier, because you could pretty much run anybody. But for those of you that were asking for an updated tier list, this is our updated tier list. I want to thank Mac again for taking the time to do this with me. Don't forget to check out all the resources that are out there, guys. We have the EverCrisis Discord, we have the Meows database, and we also have now the compendium guide that's being written by Miracat. So be sure to take those into consideration and look at them in the video description as well as the pinned comments. But yeah, this is the end of the video. Thank you again, Mac. It was great having you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Stay tuned for the next video and stay blessed, everybody.